Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsoring partner, the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. CBMA is a national membership network that's built a vibrant community of over 5,700 members and more than 2,700 organizations that's been working together over the past decade to build beloved communities across America where Black men and boys are healthy, thriving, and enabled to achieve their fullest potential. If you're interested in learning more, hop on over right now to tbpod.com/partners and consider joining the membership or donating to help them scale the impact of this growing field of Black male achievement.
You're listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast, where we'll explore the stories of today's successful Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Join us to access the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished professionals and come away with the know-how, confidence, and motivation you'll need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the Trailblazers.fm podcast. It's been a while since I last did a solo episode, but I found myself this weekend in a spirit and a season of reflection. And I thought it was just time to share some thoughts, hopefully some inspiring words with you. It's pretty hard to believe that the first quarter of 2019 is now in the books. Pretty crazy, right? And so my first question today is, how are you progressing towards your goals for this year? Are you keeping track with the goals and the vision that you had coming into 2019? Personally, I'll say that, I had some great wins. Some of my extreme targets, some of the big tasks that I had set for myself went my way early. And so I'm truly feeling blessed as I look back at what we were able to accomplish in Q1. And, of course, we had the Apple feature in February. We had a top-level ban on Apple Podcasts homepage, as well as we got featured in their Black History Month feature as one of the podcasts featured there. Even in the past week, by complete surprise to me, we were listed on Damon John's monthly recommended podcast list. Picked up a bunch of new listeners there as well. If you're coming over from that, welcome. Thank you for subscribing and checking us out. And, from the year started, we've had 12 amazing men and women featured over the course of this first quarter. We kicked off 2019 with our second annual Wealth Series. And that took us through the first 6 episodes of the year, starting with Chris Hogan and Anthony O'Neill, both personalities within the Dave Ramsey Network. And we featured 4-time Olympian Lauren Williams, another trailblazing podcaster, Jamila Safrant, my bona fide Jamaican sister. We heard from real estate mogul Jay Morrison and wrapped up that Wealth Series with a legend, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, author of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. If you missed any of those episodes, I'm going to tell you to go back and binge on that series. Lots of wisdom packed in there. Make sure if you do, share it up with those in your circle of trust, right? We also had some amazing guests that were returning guests in Black History Month. David Moody Jr. and Alfred Edmond Jr. of Black Enterprise. And then Women's History Month. This was our 3rd consecutive year featuring 4 women in the month of March as a nod to Women's History Month. And they're all amazing women. Christina Lewis, daughter of Reginald Lewis. Jas Booth. We had returning guest Marissa Renee Lee. And the most amazing woman that generated so much engagement from our community, Mignon Francois of the Cupcake Collection. That episode will go down as one of my top 5 all-time favorite conversations on this show. But, some great episodes so far this year. And I wanted to share some tangible metrics and get transparent with you guys today, right? So thanks to the Apple features that we had, thanks to the success of the series that we've had so far this year and the guests that came on, the first quarter of 2019 was the first time that we had 3 consecutive months of 5-digit downloads. So each month saw more than 10,000 downloads a month. And we ended up finishing this quarter with just shy of 40,000 downloads. Many other podcasters out there are doing millions of downloads, and great for you if you are. Some aren't, right? But for me, that was amazing because I look back and just a couple weeks ago, we just now crossed 200,000 lifetime downloads. We just crossed the 200,000 milestone. So if you're a math person and you're working that out, you realize that we've been podcasting for 3 years to get to 200,000. But you look at the last 3 months, that's 20% of our lifetime downloads just in a 3-month window, right? And I'm choosing to be transparent today because it feels, as I was reflecting, I started off this episode telling you, I'm in a season of reflection. And I'm looking at this and it feels so much like the parable of the Chinese bamboo tree. And so I felt inspired to share this parable for those of you who are unfamiliar. If you're doing anything else right now, I want you to stop and listen in, right? So this parable of the Chinese bamboo tree teaches us lessons about patience, about perseverance, about faith, about really striving for your true potential, both in business and in life. And like any plant, the Chinese bamboo tree requires nurturing to flourish, right? You have to water it. You have to fertilize the soil. You have to give it sunshine. And in the first year, the Chinese bamboo tree shows no visible signs of any kind of activity. In fact, in the second year, you're watering this tree, right? You fertilize the soil. You're giving it sunshine. You're doing what you're supposed to do. In the second year, you're still not seeing anything. It doesn't even break the ground. Doesn't even come through the soil. In the third and fourth year, yes, still no signs of this tree. Let me take a pause right there, right? There are times when you are, and I know you're going to feel me on this one, there are times you're building your business, right? You're an entrepreneur, business owner, or even if you're a career professional, right? You're going through dead years. You're doing the work. You're working hard in silence. You're putting in the work, but you're not seeing the return on the investment. You're not getting that promotion. You're not seeing the business grow, right? But you're doing the work. You're putting in the time. You're putting in the money. You're putting in the energy. And others see you watering your seed, right? And they look and they're like, what are you doing with your life, right? They tell you that you're wasting your time. And they encourage you. In fact, they demand that you stop wasting your time, right? And more times than not, that's not coming from outside your circle. That's coming from the innermost part of your circle, the people you trust the most, your parents, your spouse, your kids, and your patience is tested. And we all go through that, right? We'll all begin to wonder if our efforts will ever be rewarded. If you can relate, holler out right now, right? Hit me up in the DMs on social, on Insta, or on Twitter, wherever you are. Hit me up and let me know that you feel me on this one, right? But here's the part of the parable that I love. The story tells you that in the 5th year, boom, right? The Chinese bamboo tree has growth. And I mean, the thing practically explodes out of the ground. The Chinese bamboo tree grows 80 feet in just 6 weeks. Can you believe that? For those of you on the metric system, that's like 30 meters, right? The Chinese bamboo tree grows 80 feet in just 6 weeks. So here's a question that many people who digest the story and this parable, right? The question here is, does the Chinese bamboo tree really grow 80 feet in 6 weeks, right? Or did it lie dormant for 4 years only to grow exponentially in the 5th? Or was the little tree growing underground, developing a root system and a stable base that's now strong enough to be able to support the potential for outward growth in this 5th year and beyond? Now, if the tree had not developed a strong foundation, it could not sustain its life and its growth. And just as a house has to have a strong foundation to survive, this very same principle is true for me and you, for each of us. Whether you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or corporate professional, whatever your career path is, whatever you've chosen for yourself, this principle holds true. Each and every one of us, we have to put in the work to strive towards achieving our dreams and our goals. We all have to overcome some measure of adversity, some challenges. I've interviewed 150 plus people on this podcast. They all go through those same struggles, those same failures. They have to overcome some measure of adversity. And we must all grow a strong internal foundation first before we're able to handle whatever comes our way, however you define that success, right? When it does come. So I want to try to chase after this image of overnight success and the promise of a quick dollar, because from my experience, and many of you will agree with me, as quick as most of those quick dollars come in the front door is as quick as they go at the back, right? And I want you to imagine with me, if the farmer of this Chinese bamboo tree dug up his seed every year to see why it wasn't growing, what would happen? He'd mess up the growth cycle, right? Mess with the seed and what it was trying to do under the soil, right? Working through to create that root system and to create that right foundation. And if we relate that to, and be real, if we look at that in the same way, I am going to encourage you guys, because what I see happening is there's so many people out there starting businesses, especially in the podcasting space. There's so many people now looking at podcasting as this trending thing, this sexy thing, this go-to avenue. And you start the podcast, you start the business, and then 6 months, a year down the road, you're coming back. What's happening? You're digging up the seed, right? And you're moving on to the next. And too many people come into me and saying, well, I'm not seeing the downloads yet, and I'm not really seeing where this is going. And you move on. You cannot do that, right? You have to keep watering, keep producing, keep putting that content out there. And I'm not telling you that in the story of the Chinese bamboo tree, it took 5 years, right? And I'm not telling you that 5 years is this magic number that you have to work towards, because that's not the point, I think, of this parable and this story. It's not about a number, it's about a process. While this is a great story and it relates to our own experience with personal growth and change, keep in mind, change is never easy, right? But the point here is that the signs of progress are going to be slow. You're going to have frustrations along the way. And you're not going to be rewarded all the time, right? You're not going to see that what you're looking for in terms of that benefit and accolade and revenue. It's not going to come very quickly. Sometimes you have to work towards it. But it is still worth it. It is so worth it, especially if you can be patient and just be persistent. Have a little faith. Trust God. Trust His timing, that He's going to help you along the way through the seasons of doubt. And the seasons of doubt and the seasons of fear are surely going to come, right? Sometimes when you least expect it is when those Apple features and those Damon John shoutouts happen. And that's when the Chinese bamboo tree, right, grows 80 feet in 6 weeks. Or in my case, where I saw 20% of my lifetime downloads happen over the last 12 weeks. And let me set the stage for you. For those of you who are just now coming into the Trailblazer community, listen up. I didn't have any prior community. I launched this podcast in February of 2016. I got approved by Apple on February 1st, 2016. That was officially when this podcast launched. I didn't have any knowledge of audio. I didn't know how to edit a podcast. But I just took one step forward. I published episode 1. Follow me on this. It took me a whole weekend to edit less than an hour of an episode. But I did it. It sounds horrible. I cringe to go back and listen to the first month of episodes. But I did it. The very next Monday, guess what? I did it again. Episode 2. Then again, and again, and again, and again. Until today, episode 165. I've only ever missed 2 Monday mornings that were planned. Christmas and New Year's Day of 2017. Those are planned. Beyond that, I've been disciplined. I've persevered through a whole lot of hardships and headache and don't feel like publishing, right? But I did anyway. Every single Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. Go back and look at it. For 3+ years now. When the downloads, by the way, when the downloads were trending down, not for a week or a month after month for almost our entire second year, those numbers were trickling south. But I kept silent. I kept working. I kept putting in what I needed to put in to be consistent. And what happened was, even though those numbers were trending down, I took care of putting out quality content. I took care of improving the platform as we went on. I wasn't watching the numbers. I was watching what I was building. And then what happened? Apple ended up giving us our first homepage feature a year ago in 2018. We got our first feature, and then we got several shout outs in different media articles. And then Apple featured us again. And then Damon John thing happened. And then, things turn up, right? So understand, you're going to have your own version of a valley moment. You're going to fail. You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to have delays. You're going to have those seasons come about. They will. They absolutely will. But here's the thing. You have to keep going. You have to keep watering that seed. Keep giving it good soil. Keep giving it sunshine. Continue to have patience. Continue to have faith. Continue to believe in yourself. Believe in what's to come. Whether you're listening to this, again, No matter if you identify right now as a business owner, entrepreneur, as a creative, as a corporate professional, as a social entrepreneur, as a leader of some sort, whatever work you are doing, you have to begin to exercise patience and faith and perseverance if you're ever going to realize your true potential. So I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to give in. There are people who are going to come alongside you. For me, listen up. The most important thing you can do is align yourself with the right kind of people to come around you and create that root system like the Chinese bamboo tree in those silent beginning years, right? For me, those people are who help me. You don't hear about them, but they're a silent part of a strong foundation. They're the ones that help me to build this underground base. People like Sean Dove of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, the whole CBMA family, right? Who have been my sponsors for the past 2.5 years. This podcast don't happen without Sean, or without that circle. That's my circle of trust. There's so many other people. Mike, Annette, Tiff South, Minda, DK, Amy J. My internal board of directors right there, right? I'm in like 3 different mastermind groups of people who pour into me several times a month and hold me accountable. And so you have to look at who's in your corner. That's my next question for you right now. Who's in your corner? Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with champions, people who are smarter than you and people who believe in you and are going to be, we're not talking about your mom, right? Beyond your mama, who's going to hold you accountable to your goals? Who's going to give you sound advice? Who's going to encourage you through those seasons when you're not seeing the seed bear fruit? Or like the Chinese bamboo tree, right? It would even break the soil. And while everyone else is around you saying, give up, your circle of trust, those are going to be the people who stand alongside you on the days when the doubt and the fear are stronger than your belief in yourself. And they're going to make sure that you go out and you water that seed and you don't give up. So I hope you go out today. And if you've got a seed that's in the ground, I want to encourage you right now not to give up. And if you've just now planting your seed, or better yet, some of you right now are standing with the seed in your hand and you're afraid to plant it. And I'm going to tell you this, don't be afraid. The world needs the fruit that's going to come from that seed that only you can give to the world. The world needs the fruit of the seed, right? They need that harvest from the seed that you're going to plant that nobody else can plant but you. And if today was my last episode on this show, I want you to hear me out right here. I want you to know that by not putting that seed of vision, of hope, of knowledge, of wisdom that you have in the ground and begin to water it, you are depriving the world of something God planted in you. If I didn't publish episode 1 on February 1st of 2016 in its most imperfect state, and if I didn't continue to turn that wheel, then it would not get to where we are, where 2 weeks ago, on episode 163, where we had Mignon Francois in this powerful episode where so many people, for more than a week, my DMs stayed on fire. People all over the world reaching out to me, right? Saying how much Mignon's message impacted their lives and changed their focus moving forward. Imagine that, right? Imagine if I didn't plant a seed of the Trailblazers.fm podcast in the ground and watered it for the last 165 weeks. Mignon wouldn't have a platform to share her message, and the people who came and listened to that episode would not be impacted and now planting their own seeds that are going to be substance and provide wisdom and knowledge and inspiration to people in their own communities. You follow me? If I didn't take that first step in faith and exercise the discipline to keep doing these interviews at 8 and 9 and 10 o'clock on weeknights when I'm tired and I want to hug up my wife, right? Or I want to watch the game. If I just made an excuse that I wasn't getting paid for this podcast, because truth is, I don't get paid for this work. This is a labor of love. I could have said, you know what? I want to invest in something that's more promising. Probably not have been able to expand my network. There are people I'm meeting every week that are amazing folks. Yeah, they're the superstars like a Janice Bryant Howard, right? How cool is it to say I spoke with the first Black woman to build $1 billion company, or people like a John Rogers Jr. of Ariel Investments who manages $1 gazillion billion, right? Something crazy. But I also get the opportunity to now stand on stages at conferences like Podcast Movement and these different business conferences that I am now privileged to speak to people and begin impacting hundreds, if not thousands of people face to face in other mediums too, right? So here's another nugget for you. Sometimes the seeds that you plant and that you water are going to grow up and give shade and allow other plants to come up in your garden and bear fruits. So Trailblazers has grown up, but it's giving shade to this soil that's now bearing, I see a whole bunch of other plants coming up that are providing me income. In 2019 and beyond, understand this. We all have to begin creating multiple streams of income. Doesn't have to be, crazy. You don't have to provide substance for you in a full-time capacity, but we all have to be building our personal brand. And I hear me talk a lot about personal brand and the importance of, but, with every couple of months now, you have a government shutdown and you have different things happening. It's important to start creating different streams of income for yourself, right? Today, by watering my Chinese bamboo tree, which is this podcast, I've allowed other streams of income to develop naturally. I now derive revenue from our sponsorship, which isn't necessarily income to me, but it's a stream of revenue, right? And it also has now provided me an opportunity to get paid as a business consultant, to get paid to speak on stages, as I mentioned a moment ago. I get paid now for digital coursework that I create, which I get paid for if I'm sleeping or if I'm at work, right? People can jump in and buy a course of mine. I get paid as an affiliate when I recommend people jump onto my tools page on the website if they want to see the equipment and the tools and the resources I use, and they buy access to that. I get a share of the recommendation that I make. So understand there are other plants getting shade and being nourished from the cover of my podcast. In the same way, you can derive and build and grow and see the results of this in the long term. So again, I close with this. I'm going to share this quote that I've shared for the last 10 years. The grass is greener where you water it. The grass is greener where you water it. Stop looking at someone else's garden. Focus in, put on your blinders and tend to what God has blessed you with. Focus on watering your Chinese bamboo tree. Take your time. Don't listen to the naysayers who are going to tell you to stop and move on. Focus in on what you're building, on what God planted inside of each of you. I believe in you. I believe you're going to blaze your trail. I believe you're going to rise above. And I believe you are going to impact generations to come with the work that you are doing. God bless you guys and have a great day. I'm Stephen Hart, and you've been listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast. If you're not yet doing so, consider following Trailblazers.fm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and feel free to connect with me over on LinkedIn. Whenever you're posting stories or social media posts about Trailblazers.fm, be sure to use the hashtag TBPod and hashtag MissionFuel. We'll be able to see you, and I'll be able to show some love. And in case you're not aware, our show notes for all our episodes can be found on our website over at tbpod.com. Now, if today was your first time listening, I just want to say big ups, enough respect for checking us out. You've made this Jamaican guy really happy that you're here with us today. And I'd love your help with keeping this Black excellence flowing each and every week. So if you haven't yet subscribed, hop on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Search Trailblazers.fm and subscribe, rate, and review us there. Be sure to browse through some of our past episodes. There are more than 150 published episodes now, and a little something is out there for everyone to help keep the knowledge flowing. We grow when you, as part of our Blazer Nation community, shares and invites your friends and family to listen to an episode you think might impact them most. We believe that someone listening to these inspiring stories are going to be moved to make significant changes that have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Don't miss next week's episode. New episodes are released each and every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. Blazer Nation, go out today and find a way to rise above, go way beyond, and keep blazing your trail.